what really made the relationship work is you um is basically, like the height in which you're willing to go is like directly correlated to like the depths in which you're willing to journey within yourself and your soul. So for like the relationship that I'm in, being able to see the amount of growth that we both are capable of, and the challenges that we both, like we challenge each other to be better, and not settle, for weaknesses. And we both have had to create a lot of boundaries within our relationship. Like, I don't know if you remember us talking before. My partner, he struggles with alcoholism. So I had to put a boundary in place, like, like I wasn't trying to control the situation. I just put a boundary in and said, if you want to continue to drink, then we're not going to be able to be together, because of alcohol impairs a lot of your self-control, and and a lot of your integrity goes out the window. Like for him, a lot of his integrity just went out the window. So like he was not the man I fell in love with when he was under the influence of alcohol. And he chose our relationship, and being able to challenge each other to grow, to become the best versions of ourselves. And it's like being in a wrestling match. Being in a relationship is like being in a wrestling match with somebody. And I think that when the going gets tough for us, like when we put our boxing gloves on, and that's when we are both in our ego or we're both in our fear, but we're able to, let me think of how to say this, but we're able to both, like go our separate ways for a little bit, reflect about what each of us is wanting from the relationship, or where we could have been wrong too, and being able to, admit our weaknesses, being able to talk through why we triggered each other, being able to talk about where those fears were coming from or our insecurities are stemming from, but being able to connect and come back in our power to make the relationship work by making compromises, adjustments, and balancing out the scales.
Beautiful. Take a deep breath there, Vanessa. That's perfect. That's great. So in that, what you said there, I'd love to know more about what does challenging each other look like?
Basically pushing me beyond what I already am. So like there's a lot of things that I'm powerless over, and I'll settle. Like my comfort, because I'm able to see the situation for what it is. And I'm like, well, I'm not in like at work, it's like I'm not in the position of authority, so I don't really have a say so. So I'm able to accept my role and my responsibility. And sometimes I will, take the lower stand. And then, like we'll end up having a conversation about it. And he will push me to break down my walls of comfortability to say, you know what, I deserve a raise. I did XYZ, and him being able to bring in his masculine energy and show me like where I'm exerting myself and my worth for a company to advocate for myself better. And that's something that I've struggled with because of my own self-esteem issues. I'm not perfect. I know I'm not perfect, but I'm always striving. I know I'm worthy, and I know that I'm lovable. but also I understand that I have a lot of flaws that I still need to continue to work through. And having a partner who challenges me, to see the best in me, and that can help me see my value and worth too. If
Beautiful.
that makes if
Makes
that
perfect
makes sense.
makes perfect sense. You take another deep breath. I've got another question for you. That's great.
Okay.
So in this relationship that you're in now, what would you see that you would love if you had a magic wand, if you had some ability to just radically change and transform some aspect of your relationship? Like, what would it be? What would be your dream component in the relationship that you're in? What would you love to see that would change or transform for you?
Being able to have more time to enjoy each other's company, living life, experiencing life, taking in the views and scenic route instead of being in the go, 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 do, fix, fix, fix mode.
Mm.
Because we live together and we have a house, and between us, we have 6 children together. So things can get it's a strange dynamic, but we make it work. But because of where what's important to us is being involved in our children's lives. Sometimes we don't get the time to spend just him and I together.
Right, right. So yeah, I hear that bonding time is something that you'd really like, just to be with each other in each other's worlds, and just be present with what's going on, whether emotionally or physically, and have some space from the kids.
Yes. And I know that might sound selfish, or, because we love our kids. I love the memories we're making with the kids. They're not going to be with us forever. And that's what I look at. Like, there's going to be a time where we can get to that point where we'll have each other's company more. But we've learned, to balance it. So once a week, we've been either going out to dinner, or, we've been trying to force that time, if it makes sense. Like, we're making sacrifices, like, okay, so Jesslyn has X amount of extracurricular activities. The boys have, this many extracurricular activities. Which one can we skip out on this week to make time for each other?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, and I want to add something to selfishness, if you're okay with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's perfectly healthy to be selfish. Like, it's really important for you to be selfish, and your kids will understand in time. If they had to take a miss a class or something, they'll understand in time, because when you get your energy back, when you get that coupling, you get that moments to be together with your partner, like, it gives such a boost to the relationship and the family dynamic, that it was required, it was needed. That selfishness was really required.
Yes, absolutely.
Great. Is there anything else that you feel like you want to share? Like, if you had a megaphone that could speak to the entire world and give someone a tip on what it means to be in a relationship, or how you could make your relationship better or deeper or more exhilarating, like, what would it be?
It would be to focus on yourself. My advice to the world would be to focus on yourself. Don't focus on what your partner's doing all the time. Don't focus on what they're not doing all the time. Instead, think about how you can control. Well, I'll speak from my experience. So what I do is, I learn how to control my reactions so that I can be the best possible partner that I can be, and show up and be present in my life, and not stuck up in a trauma loop, or stuck in a past hurt, or stuck in an insecurity. So working on those things that have shown up in my life and in my relationship, and working through those, so that I'm not focused on him. If he's just being a masculine, if he's just being himself in a masculine energy, I'm not being triggered by his strong presence. And I'm not, running from a relationship or running from him because, his strong presence is reminding me of, something bad from my past, or something that I didn't have or I didn't receive as a child or a teenager. And I'm running from that pain when he's just being what he's supposed to be.
Mm. Well, Vanessa,
And I
yeah,
see a lot.
you go. I see a lot. Yeah.
I see a lot of relationships with friends, with the kids being in all these extracurriculars. I'm in contact with a lot of different couples, and just seeing a lot of, where I've been, and I've been able to move through and transition and heal those wounds in me. But see so many people like, just like, I can't take this anymore. I'm getting a divorce, or it's over between us. We can't get along. And it's really that they can't get along. It's just that they're bringing up something painful from their past that's not been healed yet. It's not that their husband is a bad person. It's just the way that they're showing up in their life is reminding them of something painful in their past that needs to be healed. And then another thing I would say is just focus on yourself and build your qualities and self-love up to, like for me, like I know I bring a lot to the table. So I know I'm not perfect, but I also understand that I do bring a lot to the table in a relationship, and just focus on myself and what I can do to make improvements. And understand that a relationship is not easy. And I think that people that, well, for me, when I was in that mindset of like, I just fantasized, I blame Disney about this perfect Prince Charming. I think that that is it's not real. That's not real life. Real life is, having a partner that's going to challenge you, that's not going to, think that you're the best thing ever all the time, because to me, that's a fantasy world. I'm not saying it should be conflict all the time, but like, I love being called out on my bullshit. I love being called out on my blind spots, because for me, like, if I'm being too harsh with one of the kids, and, he calls me out on it, not in front of them, but he's like, hey, that was a little harsh. I would have, I think it would have been better if, XYZ, or I think that he would have handled it better if you would have said XYZ.
Yeah.
And being able to have that, instead of looking at him as, well, how dare you, criticize me, which I've seen so much. I've seen that happen so much. But me understanding that that is his role in the masculine world, I'm not, when it comes to discipline in my boys, we don't discipline each other's children, but we do give constructive criticism, back and forth to each other. And for me, I understand that my boys, or in their masculine boys, I'm not going to be able to show up and deliver the appropriate response every single time. And being able to have him in his masculine world provide that constructive feedback and criticism, it's like, okay, I can apologize now. I can clean up my lane, and I can come up with a plan of, okay, if this happens again, what is a better approach, and apply it, role play it, practice it. And I've had to do that before, practice it, like being in my car on my way to work. Okay, if Zachary does this, what am I going to say? How am I going to respond? And role playing it out, because to me, that's what makes it real. And it makes it also easier for me to respond that way, because there are times that my boys do trigger me.
Mm.
And sometimes it's really hard for me to stay grounded. And I've done a lot of inner work to where I've came a long way to where I'm able to hold that space. But learning how to, and by working with Eric, I've learned more on how to be in my feminine more with my boys, so that I'm not really having to correct a lot of behavior anymore. It's like it changed, like me being in my feminine has really, and learning how to be in a feminine role with my children and with my partner, and even at work, has helped me improve my relationships significantly, like that energetic exchange just shift and the dynamics. It's like more, it's smoother. It's like it is, but it still doesn't stop the triggers from happening sometimes.
Totally. Totally. That's what I want to thank you, Vanessa. I want to acknowledge the volume of inner work that you've done and the requirement of like letting go of the older versions of you to become who you are today. Just really want to acknowledge it, and what you've shared today is perfect. And I know it'll touch the hearts and minds of other people that need to hear what you're saying, particularly couples that kind of throw their hands in the air and say, "Oh, it's too hard. I want to get a divorce. Like it's my husband," and not being able to look at themselves and go, "Hey, like maybe there's something that I'm responding to here, like my childhood or my teenage years or my first relationship that I had. There's something that's in this that's going unaddressed, and I'm projecting it onto my partner." So I just really want to
Yes,
thank you.
you're welcome.
Cool. So I'm going to stop recording now, and then we can wrap this conversation up with just a little chat.